Fox Business Alert: Netflix coming upon what could be a new roadblock in its $82.7 billion quest to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Shares of the streaming giant closed above $82 a share on Friday, but right after the closing bell, the Wall Street Journal reported that in the wake of the company's testimony Tuesday before the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust, Competition Policy, and Consumer Rights, the Justice Department, again, this came out Friday after the bell, launched an antitrust review of Netflix's bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. The Wall Street Journal said as part of the probe, the DOJ issued a civil subpoena to another entertainment company, asking it to, quote, describe any other exclusionary conduct on the part of Netflix that would reasonably appear capable of entrenching market or monopoly power. So with the merger still up in the air and rival Paramount Skydance lurking in the wings with its own bid, Netflix Chief Global Affairs Circuit, Clete Willems, joins me now in a Fox Business exclusive. Welcome to the show, Clete. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You know, anybody who thought the Trump administration would be rubber stamping mergers and acquisitions is perhaps rethinking that perception with this new DOJ news. How are you viewing and maneuvering through the new DOJ development?
Look, thanks for giving me the chance to comment on that, because this is just ordinary course of business stuff. Of course, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this transaction and make sure that it's good for our economy and good for our consumers. And my understanding is that they've sent similar inquiries about Paramount as well. So this is totally ordinary course of business. And I'll tell you, Liz, I'm excited for Netflix to have the opportunity to engage with the Department of Justice and engage with policymakers to explain how great this deal is going to be for the U.S. economy and for consumers. And one of the things that Netflix is doing is we're significantly investing in the American entertainment industry. We've tripled our workforce in recent years. We're filming in all 50 states. As you know, we've got a massive billion-dollar investment in New Jersey. And what's so exciting about this transaction is we're going to be able to take what we do best, which is get content to consumers with some things that we don't have right now. Right now, we don't have 100 years of iconic IP, shows like Harry Potter or The Sopranos. We don't have a theatrical distribution business. We don't have this world-class studio that they have at Warner Brothers. And so we're going to bring these things together. We're going to give consumers more content for less. That's exciting, and I think we're excited to tell policymakers that narrative.
I think you're right about the DOJ probe, I guess you could call it, because this is just, cost of doing business, especially when you want to have a merger. So on the federal level, yeah, you've got the DOJ reaching out to entertainment companies, questioning past mergers, affected competition. Just knowing how these things work, though, Clete, the next volley, because I follow this stuff, could be individual states challenging the merger. What state attorneys general have subpoenaed Netflix, and what issues are these state attorneys general most concerned about?
Well, look, we're engaging with state attorney generals just like we're engaging with the DOJ, just like we're engaging in Europe. We've been in touch with them. I'm not aware of anything like you're describing in terms of questions being raised in the negative towards us, but we're engaging with them routine business. We have nothing to hide here. We think this is going to be great for the U.S. economy, and we film in all 50 states. So I think we're looking forward to going around the country and talking about those contributions that we're making to each of those states.
You were just making the point that Warner Brothers has a movie studio. Paramount Skydance has a movie studio. Netflix does not. I mean, you do not have to be in advanced algebra to do the math and say, oh, okay, a Paramount Skydance merger with Warner Brothers Discovery looks like it would be way more of an issue. But the Senate hearing, they were not really buying that. They seemed less interested in that part of it and way more focused on the streaming control that a Netflix WBD tie-up would have. Senator Mike Lee of Utah, he started right off and he said Netflix could become the one platform to rule them all. He said that to Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix. And I guess just putting aside the goal that in all free markets, everybody wants to be the winner. Everybody wants to be the biggest. Why is he wrong to be concerned?
Well, look, first, I'm glad that you brought up the question of Paramount, because Netflix has been very open and transparent about this deal and all of its implications, and Paramount, as you know, didn't show for the hearing. So I think there's a clear difference, and I think part of the reason for that is that if you put these two things side by side, and remember here, there's going to be a deal. There's either going to be a Netflix deal or a Paramount deal. And if you put these things side by side, I think the Netflix deal is far superior for the American economy. And I was already talking about all the jobs we're creating. We're tripling jobs while Paramount has cut 3,500 jobs in recent years. You know, Paramount has identified $6 billion in synergies in the offer that they made, which is code for $6 billion in job cuts. And quite frankly, we think it's going to be even more than that, because this is going to be the largest leveraged buyout in history. And so they're going to have to cut, cut, cut. And if you look at the regulatory, I think you made a good point as well. You know, our deal is largely a vertical merger, you know, bringing together complementary assets. Theirs is horizontal. You know, they have what we call the Noah's Ark problem, which is if they effectuate this deal, they're going to have two of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to have 2 studios. They're going to have 2 theatrical businesses. And Hollywood's going to go from 5 legacy studios to 4. And we don't have that problem. And yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that one of the biggest problems is actually coming from a community that used to cheer you guys on. And this is the creator and the content community. Yeah. Back when Netflix started putting together its own productions and original content, I know so many writers who were so excited because, you know, if every legacy movie studio passed on their script, they could come to you guys and you looked at things through a different prism. Now that group is hostile, and you know that. They do not like this merger because they feel that if you eliminate one buyer from a fast collapsing number of buyers of their content, then that means way weaker leverage for artists.
Yeah.
It just does, Clete. That's what they believe.
Look, I understand the anxiety, and there's no getting around the fact that Hollywood has had a rough go of it lately. The theatrical business has been struggling. But I would point to our track record and the fact that we have been investing more and more in content each and every year, even as others have pulled back. And what's exciting about this deal for creators is what we call the Netflix effect, is that this deal will let creators share their stories with a broader global audience that they haven't had before. It's going to give them more opportunities. So look, I get why there's anxiety, but I think our track record does speak for itself, and we're going to continue to provide them opportunities to pitch shows to the Netflix studios, to the Warner Brothers studios, which will remain independent. And I think it's going to be a really good scenario for creators at the end of the day.
Senators from both sides of the aisle were concerned about pricing. You guys have been able to have pricing power, meaning hiking pricing of some of your bundles. Many of our viewers, and Ted Sarandos pointed this out, that 80% of Netflix subscribers also subscribe to HBO Max. So my question is, can you promise that there would be some combo offered if the merger went through that would be at a discounted price? And I'm sure let me just guess, you'll say, well, yes, there would be ads in it, but ads okay, but excessively riddled with ads? Without that, could you promise that there would be a discounted version that's not totally drenched in ads?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are confident that this deal is going to give consumers more value for less money. And, you know, when folks are concerned about affordability, when you've got 80% overlap in these subscription services, you're going to be able to give consumers a great deal. And we're really excited about that. And look, there's an important affordability point, too, that my boss made at the hearing, which is if you actually look at the way that Netflix prices our product, we are very affordable. It's about 36 cents per hour of Netflix content. That's what the market analysts say. And if you look at other folks out there like Paramount, they're over 70 cents an hour. And so you have a huge delta here. And we've always provided one of the most affordable services in the business, and we are going to continue doing so.
Well, could you be able to give specific consumer benefits that, I guess, 12 to 24 months after a merger, if it were approved, that would justify this scale of consolidation? And I'm talking also about keeping jobs. You guys have said, while Paramount says that they would have about $6 billion in cost savings, you guys have said yours would be more like $2 to $3 billion. From where? Because analysts think that would be from job cuts.
Right. Ours is primarily from licensing fees and saving on things like that. It's not from job cuts, and that's a big difference with Paramount. But if you ask about specific consumer benefits, we're going to have more content, we're going to have less money, and we're going to have things in the theaters. We're going to keep Warner Brothers shows in the theaters. So there's going to be lots of great consumer benefits here that I think people can be excited about. And Liz, we haven't touched on it yet, but I do want to make sure we talk a little bit about this marketplace. And you alluded to the fact that we were going to consolidate more power. And I got to be honest, that's not how we see it. I mean, right now, we are in a highly competitive marketplace where we're competing for eyeballs, that moment of truth where you pick up the remote, you decide what to put on. We only win that moment of truth 9% of the time. We are behind Disney, and we are behind Google's YouTube. And,
although I would say that Mike Lee wasn't buying that argument either. He said, YouTube doesn't have its original content. It largely exited that business in 2022. And you don't have to pay to subscribe and to see their stuff. But I do want to mention and get to the theatrical exclusivity window because it came up with Senator Josh Hawley, the Republican from Missouri. He was actually asking you about making a promise about ensuring you would hire a certain kind of worker. Let's listen, and then he ended with the theatrical exclusivity window.
Will you commit to using union labor for all domestic shoots?
We do use union labor.
Will you commit to using it in the future for all of your domestic shoots if this deal goes through?
Senator Hawley, we do use, this is the most unionized industry in America, and we use union labor on all our production.
And you're going to going forward. I'm looking for a commitment.
You have my commitment.
Will you commit to a 45-day or longer theatrical release window for major Warner Brothers films?
Senator Hawley, I just said I would do that under oath, so yes.
Okay, the theater operators, they would love to see 2 months exclusivity. You guys are saying 45 days. Is there any chance, Cleet, that Netflix would consider a compromise of maybe 50 days, 55 days?
Look, I'm not under oath like my boss was, but I'm going to stick with what he said, which is that we're going to apply the industry standard, which is 45 days. And the reality is that, sometimes shows end up being longer than that if they're doing really well. But the industry standard is 45 days, and that's what we've committed to.
Cleet, you got a job ahead of you because you're the guy dealing with all the people in the government. So we'll be watching this and continue to follow the story. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Cleet Willems of Netflix.